Yes, welcome into SportsBit 2.0. Pauly and Teddy betting insight today, Wednesday, March 21st. Big game breakdown, huge matchup on ESPN. We got the Raptors against the Cavs. It was a blowout the last time they played, and we have the West region today. Gonzaga, Florida State, and A&M and Michigan will turn the shot clock on as well, and we'll get out of here with the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Teddy, this is a moose. If you had Oklahoma City money line. Bet up from 2.5 to 5. I think it was as low as 170 on the money line. They are up 5 with 16 seconds. Westbrook splits 2 free throws. Melo misses both. Rozier hits a 3. Morris buries a 3. Somehow, someway, the Celtics down 5 win 100-99.
Down 5 with 16.8 seconds to go in the ballgame. That never happens. Look at the tweet from ESPN Stats and Info. Entering today, teams were 0-884 this season when trailing by 5 or more points in the final 20 seconds of the game. Celtics with a comeback for the ages, but what does it take for a comeback of the ages? It takes the other team to screw up. Westbrook misses 1 free throw. Carmelo misses 2 free throws. OKC loses by 1. That's a moose and a half if you had OKC on the money line. I don't know what we call it if you had OKC. Might call it a bad bet. Tons of Thunder money rolling in last night. Bet up from 2.5 to 5. All that money stays with the bookmakers.
Yeah, had money line condolences, and Billy Donovan nailed it. He was mic'd up on TNT. They outworked them. Celtics outworked them, out-hustled them, and they wanted it more, to use that dumb cliche. But it mattered last night because without Smart, Kyrie, and Brown, they're not supposed to win that game. This is a tough beat and a bad bet. The Mavs from 9 down to 6.5. No Holiday for the Pelicans. This is a 3-point game with 3 minutes left, Teddy. And then with 30 seconds left in a 7-point game, Rondo shoots it and hits a 3. Rondo was terrific in the win.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly file this one under bad beat for Dallas. Dallas led the game outright in the fourth quarter. They opened +9. They got bet down to 6.5. They lost by 10. Of course, much of the money that came in against New Orleans on Dallas was because Drew Holiday was out for the Pelicans. And of course, New Orleans also in the only team in the NBA this season to be in a 3 games in 3 night situation. Last night was the first. The markets went against them. The markets were wrong. New Orleans gets the win and cover late. Yeah, that's a tough beat if you had Dallas. It's also a wrong side.
Interesting handicap. Remember, they were supposed to play the Pacers in February, got canceled. So they have that game tonight, then they play the Lakers tomorrow. Mixed result, Pistons from 6 up to 8, and the total 214 to 218. They ran out the Suns 115 to 88 as it's Tankapalooza here with the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix last night, that tank job rates as one of the worst individual games you'll see all season. It's really hard to lose that badly at home to a sub-500 team. Let's give Phoenix credit. That was some prime tanking last night. Of course, they didn't have Booker. They didn't have Warren. And worth noting, Pistons, after all of these struggles, their schedule has lessened up a little bit. They just got Reggie Jackson back, their starting point guard. All of a sudden, they've won and covered 2 in a row. Maybe there's something here for Detroit to make a little bit of a late season run. Either way, that was a bad result for the books with the Pistons taking all that money, although the books did get some of it back with the money on the over.
It could be a run ATS, not for the playoffs. They're too far out of it, and they stunk the last couple of weeks. So one more, Penn State Marquette, bad bet under 153, bet down to 150.5, fell 165, scramble points galore in this one in the final 4 minutes. Bad for the books, 2 of them, Raptors Magic under 214 down to 211. No DeRozan, more on this game in a second. And Rockets Blazers over 215 up to 218.5. Rockets win again. They end the Blazers' 13-game winning streak.
Yeah, I mean, that was playoff intensity last night in Portland. That was playoff tempo last night in Portland. But the overbettors won that game with great shooting. Combined 30 of 64 on 3-point shots. All that over money, 215 up to 218.5 cashes with ease. Now, it's worth noting the Blazers won the battle of the boards against the Rockets. Nurkic, 21 points, 11 rebounds. Strong game against Houston. But when you look, and we previewed this as battle of the starting guards, Harden and Paul on the one side, Lillard and McCollum on the other. when you look at what happened last night, it wasn't much of a battle. Harden and Paul absolutely dominated Lillard and McCollum. Blazers, well, they still got the money when all was said and done, but that's a matchup they're supposed to do better than that with. They didn't last night. That's definitely a concern. We talk about a potential playoff matchup.
Usually a highway robbery in the future markets. They stick it to the bettors, not much value. You're better off in most cases just rolling it over as opposed to betting a future, especially with some of these big prices out here. Well, it goes for the chalk as well. Anything here with the new future market, new odds as we're in the Sweet 16 now.
Sure. Let's talk about the concept of rolling your bets over. All right. What does that mean? I know there are a lot of newbies out there that don't get it. All right. You can bet Loyola right now at 100 to 1 to win the national title. Yep. Or you can bet Loyola on the money line on Thursday. And then if you win, you take that, you roll it over, you bet Loyola on the money line on Saturday. If they win, you bet it, you take all that money and you roll it over, Loyola on the money line for the Final Four matchup, and then again for the national championship game. If you do that, you will end up with better than 100 to 1. You also have more options. You can say, hey, I'm going to pull some profit. I'm going to reinvest half of what I won and pull some back. So you lock some profit in as opposed to having a hedge and laying 11 to 10 to do that. So in general and in specific, see these future book odds right here? Don't bet any of them. You want to get involved.
Amen.
Get involved on the money line.
Yes, they've seen a lot of horrible odds talking about future market, especially in college hoops. I do know somebody with Loyola, 80 to 1 to win the region. And somebody else, I think, has got Nevada at 5,000 to 1. I think I saw the ticket. 5,000 to 1. That's on Twitter as well. So monster tickets out there still available. And also a guy at the Westgate grabbed Clemson at 500 to 1. So you got an opportunity here. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start with the Raptors in Cleveland. They beat them by 34 the last time they played. We'll get to that and the West region of the tournament coming up on SportsBit 2.0. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, follow us on Twitter at RealSportsBit, and it's Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers. Time for big game breakdown. ESPN tonight, Raptors and Cavs. Cavs are 1.5 at home, 227.5 the total. I'm showing DeRozan questionable. The last time they played, it was a rout. It was before the trade deadline, although you can't really tell me that Cleveland's improved their team because you look at their record since the trades. Their guard play still stinks, although they get Love back. Cavs, worst team in the league by a mile, ATS. 23-46-1 against the spread. Toronto ready to lock up the 1 seed. Very important, though. Tied with Golden State for possible finals, the home court as well. Cleveland sitting there at 41-29, trying to grab the 3 seed. Nice job by the Raptors to beat Orlando. Not that that was impressive, but how they did it. No DeRozan, no Van Vliet. And a lot of guys played a lot of minutes.
Yeah, so far in early betting action here on Wednesday, we have seen a little bit of Cleveland money, and we're seeing twos popping up as we speak. We have seen a little bit of under money. I'm seeing numbers in the 226.5, even 226s out there as we record. Huge difference between these two teams in the standings. You know, Toronto's 11.5 games better than Cleveland. 12 in the win column, 11 in the loss column. These two teams haven't been close. I mean, coming into the season, you say, all right, give me the Cavs plus 11 games against the Raptors. You'll have a lot of takers on that bet right now.
I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that up because Toronto's already gone over their win total, which was 48, and the Cavs have already gone under their win total.
Yeah, exactly. They have no chance to cash over, but an historic season against the spread for Cleveland. I had a conversation yesterday with Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. He raised the possibility there's a chance that Cleveland might be an undervalued commodity right now after the win over Milwaukee. A team that basically the wise guys don't want them. The public doesn't want them. Everyone's been burned with the Cavs. There is potential for Cleveland to be a moneymaker down the stretch. Last night, you talk about Toronto in that fourth quarter against Orlando, and it was all the bench. The only starter to get on the floor in the fourth quarter was Kyle Lowry. You look at the graphic right there. They won the fourth quarter, by the way, 25-10, once again shutting down a team during crunch time. And you look at the minutes for the game, Dwayne Casey has relied on his bench all season long, and that bench, again, major minutes across the board. And that was, of course, even in a game where they didn't have DeRozan and they didn't have Van Vliet. So, the injury to DeRozan, the strained thigh, it looked like they might have been keeping him out for the first of back-to-backs. He may play tonight, but the early word, markets don't think he's going to go. That's why we've seen the Cleveland money.
Yeah, very good. Toronto also the third best team ATS this year at 40 and 30. Toronto, the only team in the league top 5 offensive and defensive efficiency as well. Cleveland, 28th in defense, Teddy, and they can't get stops, period. And the other thing, how are you going to make a deep run in the playoffs without any rim protection? Look what Milwaukee did against them Monday night. They were 37 of 57 on 2-point shots, but that's been the story the whole year with the Cavs giving up easy twos and no rim protection. Thompson's questionable. So is Hood tonight. And this is one of the things that Toronto does best, get to the rack.
Sure. Look, if you look at the picture with LeBron and Kevin Love, LeBron's really glad to have Kevin Love back in the lineup with so many guys hurt. And, of course, the first game with Love back, 121 points, 121.7 points per 100 possessions on offense. They got 56.8% of the rebounds in that game against the Bucks as well. That's very good. The bad, of course, the defense with Milwaukee, as you mentioned, shooting 37 of 57 on 2-point shots. There's no rim protection right now. Love and Ante Zizic, the only options inside. They're still waiting for Tristan Thompson to get back. As you mentioned, the graphic shows the full season. Only the T-Wolves and Nuggets are worse than Cleveland against 2-point shots. Toronto, a really good offense when it comes to 2-point shots. Look at that graphic, the number 4 in the NBA. And, of course, as you mentioned, no Kyle Korver, no Rodney Hood for the Cavs. That hasn't mattered to the markets yet. The money still coming on Cleveland, betting against Toronto on the second of back-to-backs.
All right, Hood is out. Okay, thank you. And then you got the Korver news as well. Thanks for that. Game number 2. By the way, thanks to Intertops as well, a sponsor here on SportsBet 2.0. The early game from Los Angeles, Thursday, A&M against Michigan. Michigan is 2.5, 136 the total. Michigan's tournament offense from 2010 to 2017, 18 straight games of more than 1.0 points per possession. This year, less than that, 0.92 against Montana. They couldn't score to start the game. They had that long stretch. And then 0.98. They survived against Houston. Had no business winning that game. Cause for concern, 13 of 46 on 3-point shots. They get the Poole miracle, which might have been the toughest look of them all. And Beeline actually caught referring to Montana and Houston games as losses. Quote, "We're doing some things that I don't know, and we've got to address them and try to get better at them. I think we made some of the mistakes. We've only lost 7 games, but those 7 losses, I felt like we did some things that just don't make sense, and they're not characteristic." I mean, that's what Beeline's saying, and Wagner, he doesn't know what's going on either. What is going on? We thought early on against Montana it was because of that layoff with the Big Ten tournament a week early in New York, but then it carried over against Houston, and the officials got involved. They get the miracle win, the missed free throws. They had no business winning that game.
Sure, but as we talk about the NCAA tournament, we want to look backwards. Of course, what happened? How does that project forward to the next game? But we don't want to be too focused on, hey, they stunk last weekend, therefore they're going to stink this weekend. I'm not sure that's the case for the Michigan Wolverines. Look at the quote from Wagner. I know we don't have this graphic up. I just want to read it. I don't know what it has something to do with Wichita, but I'm ready to go back to Ann Arbor and make a check mark behind this weekend because that wasn't our best basketball. Hopefully we got the rust off a little bit. It'll get better this week. I'm very grateful that we get another chance because that's the truth of it. The Wolverines lucky to survive in advance. That being said, they're a better team than one we just saw last weekend. I don't know if that's the case for Texas A&M, though. I mean, A&M, they certainly bring an NBA size challenge. I mean, this is, number 6 in the country at effective height. If weight was included, they might be number 1. You look at their bigs in Davis and Williams. These are 2 big guys, and they are tough to bang with in the paint.
Well, you have Davis and Williams, right? 6'10", 266, and Williams both 6'10" and 240. Remember, A&M was a top 10 team earlier in the season. Then they had injuries, suspensions, guys were out. Well, look at this. This is what you like, Teddy. You got one team who people are kind of down on with Michigan, right? Lucky to be here. Look at A&M. They're off their A game. They just destroyed Carolina in Carolina. Remember, North Carolina was 34-1 all time straight up in games played in that state, and they ran them out. It was the worst loss in tournament history for Carolina when they were the better seed. Game was over 10 minutes in, Teddy.
It really was. The quote from Tyler Davis, one of the Texas A&M bigs. We know we have the advantage on the inside against most teams, so we just do what we do every day. Just go to war on the inside and eat glass. The quote from Roy Williams I thought was very, very key. Williams, of course, the Tar Heels head coach, the coach of the team, the defending national champs who just got annihilated by an A&M in the game you were referencing, Pauly. Quote, we've beaten people up over the years, and the tables were reversed. I'd say probably this is the only game where somebody just dramatically handled us inside, or maybe at a higher level. What they did to us inside early in the game shocked us, even though we knew that they were good. Last weekend, A&M was a lot better than Michigan, And of course, this is an A&M team that's battled through injuries. You talked about the point guard, TJ Starks, the Frosh. You look at his full season numbers. You look at his numbers here in the tournament. He's been really good. That being said, Bayline with extra time to repair against a Frosh point guard, I'm not so sure that's a matchup that works in Texas A&M's favor.
All right, one more. Here's the late game from Los Angeles. Zagalicious against Florida State. Gonzaga's 5.5, 153 the total. What a program. One possession away from winning it all last year. They reload. They lost guys. Fourth year in a row, Gonzaga's in the Sweet 16. And they got some talent. They got some bigs down low. Tilley was sensational out here in the West Coast Conference tournament. He shot 78% in that tournament, but then he couldn't make a shot against Greensboro, and Hachimura couldn't make a shot. They missed a bunch of free throws, and Norvell had to bail him out with the three. Then they have the 15-0 lead against Ohio State. They blow that, come all the way back down 5 in the second half, and win by 6. But it's the balance, Teddy. You can't take away every guy. Williams, Tilley, Hachimura, Norvell, Perkins. There's so many guys that can score and beat you, and that's why this Gonzaga team can make a deep run.
They sure can. And of course, you talked about some of the guys. Hachimura is the guy that probably is the most NBA upside. Tilley's the guy who got going in the West Coast Conference tournament. Guess what? Norvell's been a monster as well. And of course, we're talking about a freshman, a guy who's finally coming into his own. Since the start of the West Coast Conference tournament, Zach Norvell, 18.2 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, 20 of 41 from three-point range. He's been a go-to guy for a team that hasn't had that at stretches this season. Here's a quote from Killian Tilley after Norvell's 28-point effort against Ohio State. Quote, crazy to see him play like that. It's cool when you have somebody like that on your team. Just pass the ball to him and win games. And of course, the Zags, this is a team that's tough as nails inside. You look at this graphic. The defense, top 15 in the country. The rebounding, especially on the defense, top 15 in the country. The 2-point defense, the 3-point shooting percentage, all right there with the best teams in college basketball. Don't sell Gonzaga short, despite the fact that they graduated a lot of talent last year.
All right. Well, I'm not going to compliment Florida State. They're lucky to be here. They shouldn't be here. Xavier gave them the game. Xavier missed 11 free throws. They were up 11 with under 10 minutes. They led by 9 with 5 minutes, and they lost the game with a top 10 offense, and Blewett was terrible again. And they had 18 turnovers. They gave Florida State the game. The good and the bad. The good for Florida State, 10 players go at least 10 minutes, but none more than 30. And that's also the bad. The same 10 players go at least 10 minutes, none more than 30. Inconsistent team. I don't like their head coach in Hamilton, but here they are in the Sweet 16 with an opportunity, but handed a gift by Xavier.
Well, when you look at Florida State, this is a team that, at least in my mind, I don't know if they ever found their best five. The guy they're starting five. The leading scorers, Kofor, Angola, man, all right there, within 0.2 points of one another. Angola, the only guy to go more than 26 minutes against Xavier. But the one thing Florida State has, and that has been their saving grace all season, their depth, man. Their depth really wears team down. It's interchangeable parts. They forced 18 Xavier turnovers. Leonard Hamilton's quote, I was especially proud of our players because the body language, the mannerisms, their level of communication when they came out of each timeout, they never showed any lack of confidence that we couldn't win the basketball game. They have this saying that they're 18 strong. And I thought each time we came to those moments where there was a timeout, I could hear all of them getting closer and closer together. Florida State, the rarest team. They had twice as many turnovers, 14, as assists, 7 against Xavier. This is a team that faced the number 330 non-conference strength of schedule. They won all those 9 games. Since that time, they're 13-11. In fact, if they didn't rally for against Xavier, they'd be 12-12 straight up in their last 24 ball games. We'll get back to Florida State when it comes to play of the day time.
All right. Up next, we turn on the shot clock. How about the highest seed to reach the Final Four? Our thoughts next in the play of the day on SportsBet 2.0, Betting Insight Today.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
We're back on SBRpicks.com. Pauly and Teddy at Real SportsBet on Twitter. He's at Teddy _Covers. There we go. All right, time to turn the shot clock on. Highest seed to reach the Final Four. I'm sticking with my sleeper. They're 2-0. Beat Providence. Blew out Carolina. Let's keep it going. I'm surprised they're dogs to see some A&M money so far. I'll take A&M with a prime to make a Final Four run. Remember, they were top 10 at one point. They have the size. So we talked about bigs down low. You have my attention when you can blow out the defending champs in their home state. Give me A&M to make it to the Final Four as the highest seed. What say you, Teddy?
Yeah, I'm not ready to go with the number 7 seed as the highest seed to make the Final Four. In fact, after all the carnage last weekend, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see this weekend go a little bit more to form. So what does that leave us with? That leaves us with Kentucky as the highest seed in the Final Four. The Wildcats, a number 5 seed. That's the lowest seed in their region. I think they'll survive and advance. I don't think we're going to see the shockers in the weekend of the Sweet 16 that we saw in the opening round of the tournament. I say Kentucky at number 5 will be the highest seed in the Final Four.
Yeah, that's a good pick. In Atlanta, they're going to have all the fans. You're right about that. All right, money time, play of the day. Where are we going? Take it away, sir.
Sure, let's take a look at the Gonzaga Bulldogs. The Zags game number 820 play of the day. Look, we said it very clearly. Florida State is in the Sweet 16 because their opponents played bad. Not because Florida State is great. You know, they had the right draws, and got the right breaks. That ends here. Zags are the real deal. 820. Gonzaga, -5.5. This looks like it's going to head to 6, so I'd get it sooner rather than later. Zags play of the day right here on SportsBet. Betting Insight Today from SBRpicks.com.
All right, very good. Tomorrow we have the East region, some good matchups. Nova against West Virginia and Texas Tech against Purdue. We'll recap the NBA as well, of course, and bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Thanks for watching. Second week here as we reboot SportsBet 2.0. Again, follow us on Twitter at Real SportsBet and at Teddy _Covers. Thanks for watching. Catch you tomorrow on SBRpicks.com.